Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Homeschool Well Podcast. It's Kim and Jenny here today with you,
Hi there.
and we are continuing to give you some information that you need to help your homeschooling be easier, simpler. These are strategies for everyday success.
Well, and these are really good ones too, because all the other ones have been about like how to teach well, how to learn well, but these are going to be the good ones. Be well.
And it's pro tips to stay sane. Maybe that gives you a little insight about our mental stability sometimes when we were homeschooling that we would need to make this workshop reflecting on.
Yeah.
Sometimes it makes you a little crazy homeschooling, but these are pro tips from us because we made so many mistakes before we came up with them and lost our minds a little bit. And we're like, okay, we need some new strategies here. So we're going to share them with you about how to be well in your homeschool journey. And we're going to be sharing these for the next few weeks leading into Thanksgiving, which is good timing because what makes any mama feel a little more cray cray than the holidays coming on?
That's right. We planned it this way. This is exactly why we wanted to do this right
I
before the
don't think we
holidays.
did it.
I'm going to
Yeah.
say, well, I'm going to say we did. It worked out
I think
perfectly.
God
The
planned
Lord
this.
made it
Yes,
happen.
this is like God's perfect timing. But if we would have, intentionally framed it out on the calendar, then this is what we would have wanted because the 3 weeks before Thanksgiving, we need every scrap of uh, mental forbearance that we can get. Okay. So today's pro tips to stay sane are going to be specifically two things. The first one is how to start slow. And even though this is not the beginning of the school year for most homeschool families, this is great advice that you can take any time of year, especially during the holidays. After the holidays, when like we get this big holiday break and you're restarting, you're kind of like, hitting the books again mentality in January, you're going to really benefit from these tips on how to start slow. And the second point is how to build routines and habits that will help you as a teacher, specifically keeping it pro.
Yeah. Make your days run
Yeah, we
smoother.
have some specific ways to
Hmm.
build those routines and habits for you coming up.
And if you need more specific help after you listen to this is what we do with our community once a week. We meet together, we talk about specific problems in specific homes, and we also have a forum where you could just message us and say, "Oh, I'm having an issue with this. I need help." So that's what we do. So these are going to be kind of generic tips, but if you need specific ones for your house, reach out to us. We can definitely help with that. And you can find us at thehomeschoolwell.com. We also wanted to share a scripture that goes with this topic completely. And it's from Galatians 6:9. And I bet I have done this one about 5 times or 10 times on a podcast because it's one of the best for a homeschool mom. And it's so let's not get tired of doing what is good at just the right time. We will reap a harvest of blessing if we don't give up. And so we want to teach you how to make your days easier so you don't give up.
That's a great verse because it is just like the tempter is constantly messing with our minds about, oh, you're not good enough. You're not sane. You got to quit. But don't quit. Just, listen to the scripture and we're going to get into these tips and just keep at it. All right. The first one is starting slow. Jenny, I like when you said we were talking before we started recording that you did try to start the year with all of the subjects the first week.
Oh, yeah, when I first started homeschooling, we were diving into everything. I was like, all right, we're doing math, we're doing grammar, we're doing science, like we're doing
Yeah, because we're
everything.
like the professional teachers. We can do this, but it's so
Sure.
different when
Yeah,
you're homeschooling. It's so different when you're homeschooling.
right. It's like someone had fired off like a starting gun or a racing gun, and we were like, all right, let's go. And everyone was like, whoa, this is not good. So, but I just kept hitting it. I just kept going.
Right, right? Until you like something imploded and you realize, oh gosh, I got to do this different next
That's
year.
right.
I think it's just
Correct.
that mindset, not mindset, the maybe the physicality of, when kids go to a building for school, like everything instantly changes when you open the door, they sit in their classroom. But when you're doing homeschooling, you're still in your house. So you still have all these layers of distractions. And so starting
Right.
slowly, and we say literally one subject per week. That seems
Hmm.
so,
That's how we did it.
well, it's so smart, but it seems like such a tortoise. It seems so slow and not productive, but it is productive because in that same time frame, you are learning how to deal with the distractions of home and still concentrating on the subject that you started. You are learning how to, with the next point that we're going to bring up, practice and build routines as you're just focusing on one subject. Jenny, do you have a subject that you think is might be more easy or important or relevant to start with?
We always started with math only because it seemed like there was so much content for a year's worth of math. It felt like it was kind of hard. And so I was happy to start with that one first. And I was hoping because there had been years where we were not getting done with
Yeah.
a lot of the content by like
That's a
May.
good
And
point
so
with math. And you know
yeah.
what? There were
Yeah, there's just so
right,
much.
and you
Yeah.
don't want to, you wanna have the time with that one, right? If they need to do
Hmm.
relearning, reteaching, you wanna have as much time as you can. And you know what? We had a couple years, 2 years, I remember, where it was July and she was still working on the math. I'm like, "Oh, we're never doing this again,
We I
ever."
remember having this conversation with you at
Yes,
church because it was literally VBS, I think, and we were
still
still
finishing the math,
doing
right? Ugh.
so,
So,
yeah.
I like that.
It's a good one to start
That's
with.
great advice.
Yeah.
Start with the math, and then also it's very content driven. You're like, boom, you're in this math like box. You know what I mean?
Right. There wasn't a lot of plan for it. You didn't have to be
Yes.
super creative. It was an easy way to just open the stuff and
Yeah.
get
Every
going, I
day,
felt like.
Monday through Friday, Monday through Thursday, whatever your thing is, that first
Mhm.
week. And then you can double down on building the routines and the habit building. And then as they go
Mhm.
on in weeks, they're adding one, maybe two other subjects.
Sure. Whatever feels good. You don't the point is you don't have to I felt like we had to start all at one time when I first started homeschooling. Like we had to jump in. And the point is, you don't. There's no rule that says you have to start everything on day one and burn everyone out by the end of the first week.
Yeah, that's another thing is they're just getting used to waking up again and being like school productive. Well,
Thinking,
you
yeah, it's hard.
once you have all your subjects added in, I think it's interesting how mind-blowing to some homeschool moms that I've talked to about this before when I say, you don't have to do every subject every day. You just don't.
Mhm. Right. Or I've seen homeschool moms who their kid is 6 and they're trying to do a phonics program, a reading program, a grammar program, a literature program, and they're doing oh my gosh. Oh yeah,
Handwriting.
handwriting. They're doing like 15 different programs thinking they have to do everything. And it's like, oh my goodness, your kid's only 6.
Yeah.
Calm down.
And even if they're older with that too, language arts can really mess with your brain when you start saying all the little subtopics under language arts. And if you think you have to do every subtopic every day of the week, like, no, you really don't. And it's okay. Some examples might be science on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Maybe math, you're doing 5 or 4 days a week. History, you're doing the Monday and Wednesday, the opposite days of when you do your science. Or maybe your language arts is built into your history program or something like that. You just be flexible and most importantly, start slow. Start with a
Mhm.
feeling of we get to do this every day, not like you said, the starting gun went off for
Yeah.
the race to start, and it's like you're just trying to keep your head above water. Don't start that way. And the second point would be building routines and habits. And this is why it's so important to start slow with the content area because habits and routines are so important and they need to be like taught specifically and practiced specifically, right?
Yes. Right. Yeah, like just getting up in the morning, getting your teeth brushed, just doing these things before we're going to start our day. When I was a teacher, I always, for the first like 9 weeks, I definitely trained my kids to put things back where they
Yes.
go, how, we did in a school, here's how we line up, here's how we do this. Now it was very controlling because you have to be controlling in an
Well, you
environment
have a
like
lot of
that. You don't have to
kids.
be that controlling at
Yeah.
your house. Yeah. But you want to teach them, like, what are some things you want them to learn as they're going along that can make your day run more smoothly, easier. Don't feel bad about taking time to do those where you're like, oh no, we got to get to the curriculum. Like these are life skills. These are really good
Yeah.
things to take time for.
Outside of the books, these are really important
Hmm.
habits. And number one needs to be, we wake up and turn to the Lord. Oof, I'm
Yeah,
convicted about that. As
sure.
my kids have gotten older, it's
Totally.
so out of my hands what they do first thing in the
Hmm.
morning, right?
Yeah.
And so take
Hmm.
advantage of when your kids are little and they want to, right?
It's a
Sit
good
around
point.
and do a devotional together for as long as you
Hmm.
can. And I
Hmm.
just made the mistake of that, of not being more consistent with that. When my kids went to public school in ninth and 10th grade, I could have still had that time in the evening, you know, but
Yeah,
it
it's true.
just was something that,
Got to be
yeah,
intentional.
something that we didn't do well. So we just pray that um, they do make that habit like as they're young, but then it stays with them. It's sustained, it's something that,
Yeah.
going to the Lord. It doesn't have to be a official devotional, but talking, praying, asking for prayer. So much of that is really just helping it become a habit.
It's a really good point.
But it does start with the Holy Spirit, right? Some other
Mm-hmm.
things are your schedule. And like Jenny said, the things you do first thing in the morning. I love the picture schedule for the younger kids who can't read. Pictures of the Bible, the picture of the toothbrush, the
Yeah.
picture of,
The
yeah, make
bed,
the bed.
make your bed.
Those are great schedules. And then to asking them though, empowering them. Hey, what do you think would be a good idea of this like morning routine thing?
Hmm. Taking time to do that.
I
Yeah.
had one high school family that I evaluated recently. When we were talking about this, her calendar came up in my mind, like the picture of their calendar. I was like, girl, you are such a pro. Like it had, and it was words, obviously, because she's in high school, but the morning routine down just like that, still specifically like brush your teeth, make your bed, I don't know, other things. And then the whole day's routine. And then even like a wrap up routine in the afternoon, make sure all of your books are put on the shelf or like just
Oh, yeah.
very specific project manager type of it wasn't a
Right.
spreadsheet, but it was a calendar template and there were little boxes next to each task that she could check off, and she should sell that. Maybe
Nice.
she bought it on Etsy, but if she did, she
Yeah.
customized it because it was also very
That's
personalized to the
awesome.
girl, because she had her like sports or whatever on there. So, you don't have to get that in depth
Mhm.
and crazy. You don't have to make pictures. You can just talk about it. You come up with some fun schedule, but do it with your kids so that they are empowered and you're not always just telling them what to do, right? And the next point was, what do you do when you have to have your kids working independently? When you need to like make an important phone call, maybe you need to take a shower because, it would make you feel better, or maybe you need to go to the bathroom, or maybe you need to work with one of your kids one on one and you cannot be interrupted. That is a
Right.
habit, a routine that you need to figure out and practice with your kids.
Right. Like one of ours in the afternoons was sometimes I just needed to lay down and take a 20-minute power nap. And it was
Yes.
like, whatever you're doing, do not bother me. So, like, this is the time where you need to be reading in your room. Or I think sometimes I did reading when they were a little bit older. Sometimes it was like playing with toys. Like, this is like independent time. This is like rest time, quiet time in our house. And so, taking the time to teach them, do not come in my room unless the house is on fire or
Or
whatever.
you're
Like,
bleeding,
everyone needs a little rest.
right?
Yes. But taking time to teach them how to do things independently. Like, this is your time where you're going to go listen to a
Your
book.
choice. It's
This is,
like their choice
and
time.
build with
Yeah.
Legos. Yeah. Or this is their time where you're going to work for 5 minutes by yourself on your handwriting and set a timer, or 10 minutes on something, set a timer so that they're gradually working up to it, so that they're getting some
Yeah.
endurance and learning how to do hard
I
things.
love that. And I'm gonna show Jenny, I know you guys can't see this, but we are on a video. Is this these timers that have that like red
Mm,
field in a circle that
mhm,
you set it and it's very visual. The visual timers, they have digital ones now too. And
mhm.
and even if it's on the phone or the iPad where they can see the
Oh, yeah.
countdown, like those are super helpful, the visual timers.
They have them on YouTube now
Oh,
too.
cool.
Like,
Yeah,
there's like 10-minute timers and it just shows like a fire
cool.
crackling or, something
And
kinda
so,
cool like that.
yeah, like you said though about needing to take a power nap, I think that's so important to teach your kids like, look, I got to take care of me. I wake up early because I know that about my Jenny Bar, okay? I'm the late sleeper.
Yeah,
I stay up late. She sometimes stays up late and still wakes up early, but it's so
I
important
know.
to show your kids, you know what? I know I can't go anymore. And so this is a priority and you're going to help me by also not only working independently or playing independently, but you got to do it quietly and not wake me up.
That's right.
Right?
This is the be well part,
Yes,
mommy.
yes.
This is it. These are the important
Pro tips to
things.
stay
Like, you gotta
sane.
stay
Yes,
sane.
we said that the
That's
same time.
right.
Oh my goodness. And I mean, you
Yes.
think it's just for little kids. Like when I was pregnant with Wyatt, Anastasia was 3, and I would do that. I would be like, "Look, mommy and Wyatt need a nap, and you're gonna sit in your room and play quietly." And she had the baby gate. We're literally 3 feet across the hall from each other in the
Right.
rooms. And I'm like, "But, you can't interrupt us. Like, you gotta do it quietly." And when they do wake you up, that's the teachable moment. That's what you're practicing. That's why you're only
Right.
working on, one subject or two. But it's not just for 3-year-olds. It can be for 13-year-olds,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Oh, no, because they still
Yes.
interrupt or make a lot of noise in the
Yes.
kitchen or whatever they're
Right.
doing. Yeah, like, give me a
You got
break.
to practice
Yes,
it.
let's work on
You're
this.
letting
Sure.
them know it's important to rest, not just for you, but for them someday when they ever run out of energy.
Yeah,
And to be respectful about it. We did
right.
talk about coming up with some kind of a sign when they do need to interrupt. This more refers to if you're working one on one with another child or if you're having a phone call. If they do need to interrupt you, not just coming up and being like, oh my gosh, I gotta blah, 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 and like doing that, but some kind of sign. And a couple of them that I always thought were cool from other moms was if the child just comes up to you and puts their hands on your shoulder or maybe on the table and just stands there and waits quietly, you are both in the know that that is the sign that he needs something. And he's going to have to wait for there to be a natural break in the conversation for you to deal, but that you're not going to ignore him. You're going to respect that, you need to stop and find out what the interruption is. So that's a nice little silent sign, just putting their hand on your shoulder or on the table. I love my Team Godfrey flag. You can't see it, but in our membership, I have a team building workshop, and we make this pencil with a flag, little paper flag on it. You can put whatever you want on the flag. Mine always said Team Godfrey. So, if your kiddo needed something, they could just put the flag on the table and walk away, and they would know, okay,
Mhm.
mom sees the flag. She's going to bring it to me and help me when she can.
It's good.
And so
Yeah.
those are just a couple of good silent signs for independent work. But the most important thing is that you do concentrate on building routines and habits, as well as starting slow or restarting after the holidays slowly. And again, if you do need more specific help and strategies for your unique situation, consider joining our community of moms because that is what we do. And you can find that again at thehomeschoolwell.com. Right there on the front page, it says join now. All the details are there. And that wraps up our first set of pro tips to stay sane. Join us next week for our second set of tips. And in the meantime, know that we are cheering you on over here. You can do this thing.
Yes.
Remember
Woo!
what Galatians says, don't give up. The harvest is coming.
Yes. It's awesome.
We'll talk to you next week. Take care.
Bye.